This happened to me about 6 months ago in Phoenix, Arizona. My buddy Marcus asked if I could watch his place while he went to visit his sister in Denver for a week. Nothing major, just water the plants, grab the mail, make sure nobody broke in. Easy money, right? I figured it would be nice to get out of my cramped apartment for a few days. Marcus lived in this older house in a quiet neighborhood near downtown. 2 stories, creaky wooden floors, the kind of place that makes noise when the wind picks up. I'd been there plenty of times for game nights and barbecues, so I knew the layout pretty well. The first night, I set up on his couch in the living room. I could have used the guest bedroom upstairs, but honestly, I liked having the TV right there. Plus, his couch was way more comfortable than my bed at home. I remember I fell asleep watching some late-night cooking show, probably around midnight. Around 2:10 in the morning, I woke up. At first, I wasn't sure why. The house was dark and quiet. Then I heard it again. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps coming from directly above me. The upstairs hallway. Now I've stayed in old houses before. I know how they settle at night, how the wood expands and contracts. This wasn't that. This was the sound of someone walking back and forth, heel to toe, like they were pacing or looking for something. I lay there listening for maybe 5 minutes. The footsteps would stop for a while, then start again. Always in the same pattern. Walk to one end of the hallway, pause, walk back. It was methodical, almost like someone was measuring the distance. I grabbed my phone and texted Marcus. "Hey man, you didn't mention anyone else having a key to your place, did you?" He texted back pretty quick. "No, why?" "I'm still driving. Won't be at my sister's until tomorrow afternoon." That made my skin crawl a little. If Marcus was on the road and nobody else had a key, who the hell was upstairs? I tried to convince myself it was an animal. Maybe a raccoon got into the attic somehow. We had issues with them at my apartment complex all the time. They could make a lot of noise for such small creatures. But the more I listened, the more it sounded human. The rhythm was too regular, too purposeful. Animals don't pace like that. I found Marcus's flashlight in the kitchen drawer and decided to check it out. The stairs to the second floor were at the end of the hallway, and I noticed they had one of those old skeleton key locks. Weird thing was, it wasn't locked. I could have sworn Marcus always kept it locked because he used the upstairs for storage mostly. I climbed the stairs slowly, trying not to make them creak. The footsteps had stopped by the time I reached the top. The upstairs hallway was empty, just shadows and the smell of dust. There were 3 doors up there, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. I checked all of them. Nothing. Then I remembered the attic access. There was a pull-down ladder in the ceiling of the hallway. I shined my flashlight up and saw the hatch was closed, but it had this little latch that you could only close from inside the attic. That's when I got really freaked out. If someone was up there, they had to have climbed up and then latched it behind them. I pulled the cord and the ladder came down with a loud creak. I climbed up with my flashlight, not really sure what I expected to find. What I saw made my stomach drop. There was a small mattress shoved back into the rafters. Just a thin camping mattress, but it had been flattened down from use. A stained gray blanket was folded at one end, and there was a paperback book lying open. Some romance novel with pages bent and yellowed. On a plastic milk crate next to the makeshift bed, I found a toothbrush standing in a plastic cup, the kind you get at gas stations. There was half a sandwich wrapped in plastic wrap, still looked pretty fresh. An empty pack of nicotine gum. A small, battery-powered lantern. Someone had been living up there. I moved my flashlight around and saw footprints in the dust on the plywood floor. The treads looked like cheap sneakers, maybe size 9 or 10. The prints led across the attic toward the back of the house, where they disappeared through what looked like a small hole cut into the wall. I followed the prints and found the hole went right into the back of the master bedroom closet. It was cut clean, probably with a box cutter or something sharp. Big enough for a person to crawl through. That's when I saw the photos. They were tucked behind some insulation, just a few Polaroids held together with a rubber band. The first one showed the living room from upstairs looking down. The second was a closer shot of the couch where I'd been sleeping. The third one, shit, The third one was me, asleep on the couch. Tonight. I flipped them over and saw dates written in pencil. They went back weeks. Some were from nights when I'd helped Marcus move furniture. Others were from times I'd crashed there after we'd had too much to drink. Someone had been watching, taking pictures, keeping track. I got out of that attic fast and called 911. Well, actually, I called the non-emergency line first because I wasn't sure if this counted as an emergency. The operator was nice, but said it might be a while before someone could come out. This was like 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I guess they had bigger problems to deal with. She told me to stay on the line if I felt unsafe, but I said I'd wait in my car. I wasn't staying in that house another minute. I grabbed my stuff, including those photos, and went out to sit in my car in the driveway. I kept the engine running and the doors locked, watching both the front door and the upstairs windows. Part of me expected to see someone looking down at me, but the windows stayed dark. A patrol car showed up about an hour later. The cop was this older guy, Officer Rodriguez. Probably in his 50s, with gray hair and the kind of mustache that cops in movies always have. He listened to my story without interrupting, which I appreciated. Some cops make you feel stupid for calling them. He went up to check the attic himself. He took the photos, the toothbrush, the sandwich, anything that might have fingerprints. He said they'd dust for prints and send the blanket to the lab for DNA testing. He also took pictures with his phone of the hole in the closet and the footprints. This isn't the first time we've had reports like this in this neighborhood, he told me. Someone's been breaking into empty houses, squatting for short periods. Never takes anything valuable, just uses the place like a hotel. 2 weeks later, Marcus called me with an update. The DNA came back as a partial match to some guy named Timothy Chen, who had a history of breaking into empty houses and squatting. No violent crimes, just trespassing and theft charges. The fingerprints on the toothbrush matched prints from a bunch of other break-ins around the neighborhood. Marcus was horrified. He said he'd never known anyone was up there. The landlord, when they finally tracked him down, admitted he'd been getting weird complaints from previous tenants. People saying they heard noises at night or felt like someone was watching them. He'd always just blamed it on the old house settling. Turns out this Chen guy had been coming and going for months, maybe longer. He'd somehow gotten a copy of a key, probably when the previous tenants moved out. He knew everyone's schedules, knew when the house would be empty. Marcus changed all the locks and had the attic access secured with a padlock. I stayed at a hotel for the rest of the week because there was no way I was going back to that place. But here's the thing that still gets to me. When Marcus finally went back to the house the next week, he found a piece of paper folded up under the doormat. It was just a simple note written in pencil. Thanks. I was just keeping the place warm. The police never caught the guy. For all I know, he's still out there, finding new attics to hide in, new people to watch while they sleep. I don't house sit for anyone anymore.